So a while back, we looked at this Ghostbusters game. It's going to be coming out pretty soon, I believe. Or in fact, I think it's already come out. Maybe I'm a little late to the party in covering this, so apologies for that. But we did look at this game earlier called Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed. And this is sort of, again, a new expansion of the gaming world of Ghostbusters. Of course, it's proven to be a pretty, especially after Afterlife being sort of a restorative agent, it's proven to be a sustainable franchise in regards to its cinema fare, and as many cinema fare stories are doing these days, you have these franchise expansions, specifically within the gaming market, because there's a lot of eyes here, and a lot of time and activity. And franchises, of course, you obviously understand the current of what they're all going for, and that's money. If they can expand, they will. If they can make more money, they will. And with Ghostbusters, that's just the newest iteration in a long line of franchises. I'm sure many more of which are going to be coming at some point. But I think so far, for what we've seen of Ghostbusters and past, maybe in consideration of other games that have released in anticipation of this one, I think there's been a lot of credit given to this space for the Ghostbusters storyline, and it's certainly a space that Sony's seen a lot of potential in regards to the recent expansions. You have that VR game coming out. You had that game all that long ago, with the console edition. People see that as a Ghostbusters free. That one's held in pretty high regard. I haven't played it yet. I need to. But because of Ghostbusters Afterlife, I think there's a lot more attention on this space, and Sony is doubling down. And they've done so with Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, which looked quite interesting. I thought, in regard to taking the perspective of you play as the ghost, that was sort of unique. And so you're the antagonist of the game, I believe. I'm jumping off of the 5-minute gameplay footage we had. This one's a little more recent, which is why I'm giving it consideration. This is coming courtesy of IGN, like the first one did. I believe it's one of their IGN firsts. I might have that wrong. This might be just a general footage recording from them. But I thought what the gameplay had to illustrate, and it seemed like a pretty easy, story to follow. You fly around as the ghost, as the Ghostbusters are chasing you. I like the perspective, though, taking on the antagonist. It was on the antagonist role. It was a bit fresh in comparison to what the movies have done in regards to you going after the ghost. It had a unique flair to it. But I think as well the environmental constructions were, I think they were basic, but they were easy enough to track along. I think they were interactive enough that you could kind of fly around in different spaces. You could sort of vary your path a bit to get away from the Ghostbusters. I think it was easy enough to track, in regards to it being a very accessible story. But let's see this game, if maybe there's anything else to boast in a more recent display, which this gameplay footage happens to be a case of that. Let's see if this game has anything new to offer in regards to its presentation, what we can learn from it. I also thought, by the way, that the interface was seemingly interesting to pretty easy to follow, is what I meant to say. Alright, here we go. Let's take a look at this and see the update. How it looks. Oh! Can you shift between roles? Or maybe is it based on missions or something? Because now we're playing as the Ghostbusters. It feels like we're walking in the movie, like the first one with the hotel scene. Okay, there's our ghost. That's the first one I believe that we saw. Okay, it's actually a better hub, come to think of it. I'm going off of memory, but it actually looks better given maybe the second floor, the different terrain, all the curves and stuff like that, and the different corridors you can take. Good suspenseful image. So you have the battery, too, of the ghost trap. Okay, that's kind of cool. I'm looking at the interface as well. And there's your team members. Oh, lots of ghosts. Well, there's definitely a lot of variety here. We're building haunted. It's at 100% now. We got our ghost detector. Okay. Like I said, this really evokes the styling of the movie, the first one. In terms of going after, like, Slimer. This is kind of a good compliment. Okay, so there's our ghost. We've almost got him. Oh, okay, they're showing you both perspectives. Like I said, it seems to be... Although I'm not really sure how the gameplay is transitioning. Or we've seen a replay of those scenes. Well, time-wise, maybe a little less. That'd be kind of cool if this is like the opposite perspective. You're seeing it from two different players. If that is the case, it looks almost like it could be. Easy maneuverability. Oh, it's a garbage bag? That's funny. Again, like I said, it's easy to track along with this game. The flow to it, navigation-wise, I think a lot of people won't have too much trouble, even if maybe you're not necessarily the most ardent gamer. I think it could be fun for you. I don't think it would be too hard to process in regards to where you go or how you interact with the release. This one's awfully quiet in comparison to the others. I mean, there's not much activity over them we saw. Okay, so that's, I think, a good footage clip. I didn't realize those both roles. And I would love some clarification on part of how the transition works. Maybe we'll see this again with the evolution of the game, that maybe it's based on story missions, maybe it's that maybe it's a complement of both, and that like in each level or whatever. Is it organized in levels, or is it different? Is it just like maybe a ghost combat session in one particular environment? I'm not exactly sure, again, as I've stated in the past. I'm kind of going off memory again from what I remember, before. Because it's been a while since I first looked at this game initially. But it's a good blend, I think, in terms of, perhaps if you want... It's a good compromise. If you want to play maybe as a Ghostbusters in particular, maybe that's sort of advantageous for you, maybe in comparison to playing as a ghost. Or if you're somebody who's like, I've seen the films, from the perspective of the Ghostbusters going after the ghosts, I would love to play as the ghost. This is a very different take. I did like that angle. I thought it gave it a bit of a breath of freshness in comparison to some of the other Ghostbusters media, but I do think gives it a presence of necessity in terms of gaming activity for the Ghostbusters franchise. If this happens to be a point of interest for you, I think Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, just maybe even as an initial play, you have to test it out. I think that certainly boasts a original credit. I can't speak again for that original game, but I think that was mostly directed again to Ghostbusters gameplay for the most part. This is a combination. And I think it's quite interesting in terms of an idea. I think, again, like I said, the navigation, especially on part of going through it as the Ghostbusters, that gave me a bit more taste for it. Because at first I was kind of like, again, I can even say this here, but it looks a bit basic in structure, but the pattern in terms of the corridors, and even just the look in itself, reminded me a lot of the original movie. So there's sort of this nostalgic energy, even if, again, it's its own environment. There's a feeling that it definitely connects to the Ghostbusters universe in part of the location design. But even as the gameplay, is concerned, I think it's pretty easy to follow. Seems like it has a good flow, pretty even. Easy to process, especially, again, like I said, you're an emerging gamer. Maybe you're not really a gamer by choice, but you love the Ghostbusters franchise and you'd love to experience it in other iterations. This might be an advantageous play for you. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this particular release down below. I've got 2 more videos coming in the future. Well, one covering 2 videos for this game that will give it more, I think, a final look to it. But so far, from what I've seen, I'm very impressed with its presence. Let me know what your thoughts are down below on Ghostbusters Afterlife. Or not Afterlife. My mindset's stuck in the movie. I think a lot of people are in that camp as well. Maybe that's the first thing that comes out of your mouth, because you're like, well, that film was quite great. Spirits Unleashed. We'll see if it can reach that level in the gaming sphere in its adoration. I don't know. Maybe it could. I think it certainly has the credits that could put it in as a fun Ghostbusters entry, especially in adapting the story into the video game lens, as a lot of franchises, as I said, are doing these days. I think there's some potential for this game to succeed. Even amid just 3 minutes of gameplay, that demonstrated a lot. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.